So here we go again with Cern. You know, folks, if you want to hide something, if you want to confuse people about what you're doing, you just lead them to believe you're doing something else. Where do you think this story about opening portals at Cern came from? It didn't come from some conspiracy theorist. The idea of opening portals came from Cern. They have openly stated that this is what they want to do. I think that they want people to believe that they can open up the sky into a wormhole and bring demon entities through it, just so you can spend all your time looking at that. Or is the real portal the antimatter? They basically have an antimatter factory. Why are they stockpiling antimatter? Antimatter, the magnet from hell. Now, there is real science behind portal technology, which originates from ancient civilizations. Not only that, it originates from what we observe as natural portals in space in certain locations on our planet, not to mention the ancient man-made stargates. Egypt, Peru, Turkey, Lake Michigan, the Euphrates River, Bolivia, Sri Lanka, Arizona, England, all places that are home to structures that are known to be ancient stargates or gates of the gods or doorways to the gods. Now, we know that there are different types of portals. We have the common physical, visible energy wormhole-like portal, like the one you would see in the movie Stargate or Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So this is pretty much a time and space portal. Next, you have a spiritual portal, which is more like a communication link to spirits that reside in the spirit realm or dimension, either through ritual or physical structure or object, like a Ouija board, for example, or Pokemon Go. And then we have what Cern is doing. It kind of reminds me of the movie The Mist. I mean, they're studying cloud manipulation and are pulling particles into our existence out of nothing. And this byproduct, antimatter, acts like a magnet of evil, truly the perfect weapon. They are stockpiling many black holes, and what do black holes do? They suck. And the magnetic force of this antimatter is so strong, it's affecting the weather, particularly above Cern. It's triggering earthquakes. It is pulling the negative energy right out of people in the form of violence and madness. Go read the reports of what happens when they fire up the LHC. The reports of people absolutely losing their minds. I mean, the LHC is like one big magnetic coil. And these particles zooming around this coil charges it up. Now, they can suck or pull particles into our existence from what seems to be another dimension or dimension right next to ours. We know that black holes have extremely strong gravitational pulls. So what in the world are these tiny black holes pulling in? And don't tell me it's contained. They absolutely know the LHC has everything to do with the outside atmosphere and rhythms and energies of the Earth and Sun. This is why they have such a unique and astrologically coordinated schedule for firing up the Large Hadron Collider. So, knowing these outside forces are affecting the particles in the collider, doesn't that mean whatever you're doing to the particles inside the collider affect those outside forces? It seems to be a magnetic manipulation device. In other words, if you can control magnetics, you can control electromagnetic energy. If you can control electromagnetic energy, you can control matter. And if you can control matter, you can control reality. But any quantum physicist knows that you need a mind to control these things. And they have it in the form of a quantum computer, an artificial brain. This Cern is some kind of knockoff of God. You can visit their YouTube channel. This is an entire institute that educates school children on a regular basis. And with all the symbology and theories, it's almost like a newfound religion or an old one resurfacing. I'm just saying. Now, the discussion of time travel is another video. However, there is a phenomenon that is credited to CERN that I would like to briefly discuss, and that is this: the Mandela effect. Now, this is where things get weird, folks, and you're going to need to keep an open mind to understand this. The term Mandela effect originated in 2010 from a writer who attended an event from Nelson Mandela, but remembers Nelson Mandela dying years ago in prison, instead of being released from prison and becoming president and then dying again in 2013. So, a lot of trending theories came as a result of this, and it didn't take long before people began to notice that some things are not as they remember them to be. They find evidence of reality shifts. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, the majority of the evidence to support the Mandela effect is crap. People are looking at world maps thinking they are changing due to the Mandela effect. They are drawings that have been changing since the first map. And the maps you've been seeing your whole life are not geographically accurate anyways. People can't remember that the Berenstain Bears has always been Berenstain Bears, spelled with an A, not an E. I remember this as a child because back then I noticed it was odd that it was spelled with an A instead of an E. That's how I remember it. People do this all the time with everything. They are just tiny inaccuracies in their memory. There is such a thing as psychological reversal, where you remember things backwards. They are remembering things the way they think they're supposed to be. The Mandela effect examples you find on the internet are absolutely horrible. They remember one word as something else because ah sounds like the, in sounds like and, on sounds like in. They remember the sound of the word, not the word itself. And the first thing they always say is, I remember it being this way. You remember? Great detective work, buddy. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. There are at the same time some very good, very convincing examples or evidence of the Mandela effect, such as the fact that when you type Mandela effect in Google Earth, it goes straight to the center of the Great Pyramid of Giza, such as CERN harnessing the power to manipulate our reality with their biological quantum computer. Even some of the examples pulled from the Bible are interesting. Of course, a lot of these are people just reading the scriptures as they are truly written and not what they remember hearing from a preacher. So I'm going to look at this closer. I'm going to find the real evidence for the Mandela effect, because right now people are confused and they are confusing others. And at the end of the day, the more they try to verify the Mandela effect with examples like the spelling of Fruit Loop cereal, the further they get from the truth, which is much, much stranger. I don't know. Maybe I'm the one in the parallel universe. Maybe I'm the one in the Twilight Zone.
This is James Ledbetter signing off for the News Guru.